Welcome everybody to another episode of the Best Damn Baseball Show, I should say, part of the Best Damn Sports Media Network. Tonight we're going to be joined by JT, also known as Dukes Was My Guy. JT, welcome to the show tonight. Glad to have you on.
Glad
ready
to be
to
back.
talk some baseball.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's what we like to do. The long off season is over. I'm glad that we are ready to go and to get some baseball talk in. We'll start off tonight's show talking about some of the kind of like the storylines from the weekend and some of the happenings from the opening week in Major League Baseball for the 2025 season, and then transition to your specialty, the thing that I always look to you the most for, and that's to uncover some of those prospects for me so I can claim them on my fantasy teams.
All right.
The first thing I want to just touch briefly on, just because it was kind of all the rage on social media yesterday, was the Torpedo bats. I don't know if you followed this along or anything. I think it kind of took a life of its own just because the Yankees scored 20 runs yesterday. But if you is that something that you were tracking on? Did you have any opinions on the Torpedo bats?
No, not really. I mean, if it's legal, it's legal. You know, they had a killer day. They went nuts. So everyone's like, what? It's got to be the bats. Maybe it is. But I mean, if it's legal and you have a problem with it, your problem is how come your team didn't do it?
Well, and that's exactly the point that I had made several times in our Discord over the weekend, was that one, people were making a big deal about it because the Yankees scored so many runs, but Aaron Judge hit 3 homers and he wasn't using the bat. Volpe and Jazz Chisholm both homered, and they do use the bat. I think that was kind of the impetus behind all the social media conundrums. But Major League Baseball specifies the bat can only be a max width of 2.6 inches in diameter, which those bats are. They just happen to have the wide spot further down on the bat. It's not like they reinvented the wheel necessarily too much. They just adjusted the barrel a little bit down so that way their hitters take advantage of it more, that typically didn't get as many barrels, I guess is what the best way to say it.
So
I don't think it was a big deal.
They put in the work. They were thinking outside the box, Good for them.
Well, yeah, exactly. And the other thing about it is, it's not like those Yankees guys were the only guys using it. Junior Caminero apparently uses that bat. A couple of guys with the Blue Jays, and then there were a couple other guys around the league that have acknowledged that they're using it as well. So it's not like it's something that only the New York Yankees guys are using. And you have to see things play out as the season goes on. The reason I wanted to lead off with that is because we're talking about such small sample sizes. And I know that's something that you always mention with regard to spring training and how little you pay attention to spring training stats just because of the small sample sizes. If you want to expand upon that any at all.
Well, it's super small sample. Guys could be trying new things, especially pitchers, trying new pitches that you won't see in the regular season. I mean, spring training's for just kind of getting in the rhythm, getting in shape. And for the young guys, I mean, Alan Roden, for example, he played his way onto the roster. So there is a chance for that. But like overall, the stats, I don't care. Kyle Tucker had a bad spring. He's got home runs in back-to-back games. Like Kyle Tucker, you weren't going to worry about what he did in spring training, and you shouldn't worry about that with anybody. A lot of these kids, the first time they've been up against pitchers of this level,
Yeah.
So, they're like, oh, yeah, this is what it's going to take to be up here. So it's a chance for guys like the Rodens, Deshaun Kersey, Lunch Pail made the roster, Drake Baldwin, Murphy got hurt, so it was good for him to get as many reps as he could against major league pitchers and to catch his own pitchers, So guys, getting back into shape mainly is the big deal.
Yeah, and then the reason I kind of mentioned that, another reason I kind of mentioned that anyway, is that I have personally a love-hate relationship with the month of April when it comes to baseball. Granted, we're still in March, but you know what I mean. The early portions of the season, kind of for the same reasons. If somebody goes a 2-week time span and goes nutty and hits a bunch of home runs, everybody kind of overvalues that, I think, because it happens right at the beginning of the year. But the thing of it is, we still got to remember that these are small sample sizes in the first few weeks of the season.
Yeah. A lot of the hot starts fizzle out. I mean, One that didn't was Kristian Campbell. He started out hot. Everybody tweeted about him. Everybody wanted Kristian Campbell, and here he is. His first major league home run last night. And then someone tweeted,
that guy's looking like a dude, man. I have to say.
Yeah, someone tweeted they were talking about an extension. So I don't know if that's legit or some guy just talking out his ass, but.
No, I think that it is legitimate. On my drive home today, I was listening to the front office on MLB Network Radio, and Duquette was talking about that pretty extensively. Him and Jim Bowden were on there together today, and they were talking about it at length. I know that Bowden can kind of ruffle some fans' feathers wrong, but I do think that he knows what he's talking about as far as some things are concerned. And he's had a lot of experience in the role as general manager. So I actually like listening to him on the radio. And they were talking extensively about how this would be the perfect time for both parties. I mean, because right now, Kristian Campbell's stuck for 3 years making very little money in respect to Major League Baseball players. Let's be real. And then he'll have those arbitration years after that. So it'd be smart on both parties to lock him in at a little bit higher dollar value now, but then buy out some of those free agent years as well, kind of following the same strategy as Atlanta did with Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, and Michael Harris.
Yeah, it worked out well for them so far.
Yeah, and like those kind of moves, like whenever we talk about those in various social media platforms, whether it be Discord or X or whatever, I always point out that, like, there is risk involved for the team too whenever they sign these guys to long-term deals. I mean, who knows if one of them's going to like blow out their knee and then never be the same after that, or maybe a guy regresses after 2 years and just has trouble continuing that trajectory that they displayed early. I mean, don't you think that there's been teams that kind of wish that they hadn't done that? I mean, like I'm thinking of Scott Kingery, Eloy Jimenez. Like, those are some contracts that got signed kind of similarly that I'm sure the team regretted in the long run.
Oh yeah. The White Sox tried to do that early and it just didn't work out. They thought they had their little young group of studs, and it turns out that it did not.
I thought they were ready to have like a little dynasty run there for a little bit with Eloy and Luis Robert and those guys.
Moncada, they were ready to go.
Tim Anderson just fell off a cliff.
Yeah, he did. The funny thing about that is a lot of analysis were saying, like, this profile is one that has a short shelf life. Like, he's going to get 30 and then it's just going to go, and it did. It just died.
Well, and then Evan White is another name that signed one of those early extensions, and I mean, we haven't seen him in Major League Baseball in how long now? Like, I mean, I don't even know where he is. Is he still with Seattle?
He's probably in Korea.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. And then you have the flip side where there's some players that probably wish they had signed, like a Jared Kelenic. I'm sure he wishes he would have signed an extension when he was first coming up. But that's why. What's that?
Did they offer him one?
Yeah, Seattle tried to the spring before he debuted. They tried to sign him to one of those pre-debut extensions, and he declined numerous times, and finally they just didn't talk about it anymore.
Jeez.
And so, like, I'm sure he wishes he would have signed one at this point. So there's risk both ways.
Yeah, that's a big loss.
But you mentioned Kristian Campbell, and that was a name that, transitioning to the Red Sox talk a little bit here. I was really excited to see that Campbell kind of jumped out of the gates, swinging the bat well. And he's played really well this weekend. Like you mentioned, he hit a home run yesterday. I mean, he's just been playing really good. A lot of people are calling him Mookie Jr., I think, because of the Red Sox connection. But I'm really excited to see him continue.
That's some pretty high praise for a 3-game sample.
I know. I always hate that. I hate that when they start dropping to like MVP level guys right away.
Yeah. Mookie's established stud. I mean, I saw some stuff about Campbell also. He's one of the guys that went to Driveline, and you can see the huge difference in his. You can see a big difference in his numbers last year to before. It was like a completely different person. So, I think the Red Sox having Brody there is a huge plus for that organization. Like, huge. I think it's been understated the impact that he's probably having over that, like the player development it's probably completely understated how much he's having. And when they trade guys like that Elmer Rodriguez Cruz to the Yankees, there's probably a reason why they were okay letting him go, you know? Like, I liked his numbers. He was an O's and ones guy, but I feel like with him there, they have a really good finger on the pulse of what they have pitching wise. And if they were letting a young guy like that go, that looked like he was putting up really, really good numbers and could be a thing, they'd keep him, you know? So it kind of turned me off on him just for that reason.
Yeah, I feel you. Anybody watching the show, if you have some comments on whether or not you think the Red Sox and Kristian Campbell should work out an extension, let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you're not watching live, still comment on the video and let us know what you think about Kristian Campbell potentially signing a long-term extension with the Boston Red Sox. Sticking with the Red Sox, I had to laugh because one of the other guys that's been off to a really hot start is one of your O's and ones guys, Wilyer Abreu. Man, he's just been terrorizing the baseball this early season.
They hit a double, walked twice, and stole a base tonight. I mean, he's going. I see what they do, and I think maybe this will translate, and it's translated. You know, he's done really well. He's been impressive. He just looks like an everyday player. You know. And he's hitting what, like seventh in that lineup? He could move up in that lineup.
I'm not sure exactly where he's batting in the lineup, but I'm going to bring up his current his line. I'm not sure if this is it does include today. I'll put his stats up here on the screen. Just give me a second here to add that. Let's see here. Bam, there we go. So 3 games in, not a big sample size, but he's got 2 home runs, 4 runs scored, 5 RBIs. Hasn't struck out yet at all. Just an easy 469 WRC plus.
He's already got half a WAR. Wow.
I know, like we're 3 games in.
Wow. Yeah. I'm sure that Babbitt will feel like that. Look at that Babbitt, 571. Yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah. I've always rooted for him because he was one of the first guys I remember learning about through you with the O's and ones. So I always pay attention to those guys, him and like Alan Roden and different O's and ones veterans. I always kind of root for them to succeed just because of the respect I have for you, my buddy.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, Wilyer, it worked out. It worked. I had him in one league as an Astro. I had him that long. But he looked like for a while that maybe a possible 3 true outcome hitter because he walked, he struck out, and he hit for power. But he also had wheels. And then he hurt his hamstring the year before he got called up, and his steal numbers were way down. But I think the previous year he had like I want to say close to 30 steals in the minor leagues.
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
Yeah, he was an athlete, and he played all three outfield positions. So I don't know. He was interesting, and he was free at the time. No one was paying any attention to him.
Let's get that image pulled up for you.
All right.
There we go. So which year were you talking about again?
I don't know. Which one is it? The last one with the Astros.
The last one with the Astros. So that'd be 2022. 125 WRC plus.
Yeah, 31 stolen bases.
Yeah.
He had a couple games with the Red Sox, but yeah. So then the next year in 2023, he had 11. But he had
19 home runs too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He didn't strike out an absurd amount, 26.4, but he also walked a bunch, which was interesting to me. I'm not a big high walk guy. It was just the fact that he hits for power, steals bases, and then he seems to be able to understand the strike zone. Even if he's swinging and missing some still, he still was able to lay off. He wasn't chasing a whole bunch.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people watching may not be as, they may not be as, they may not be as into the prospect mining and that kind of thing like you and I are, and may not understand why you're not high on like high walk rates and that kind of thing. If you could just kind of walk the viewers through why exactly that can be a bad thing in your mind to have a higher walk rate.
Well, say a bad thing. Okay, this is the deal. If the guy can do damage with the bat, use it. I don't want to see him sitting there with it on his shoulder, Joey Votto, right? Brandon Phillips wanted a bunch of money because he had like 140 RBIs one year hitting behind Votto because Votto was always on base. Well, Votto walked a whole bunch. And then Votto like changed up what he was doing. All of a sudden, he's like, I'm going to start hitting for power. And once he started swinging more, he won MVP. He annihilated the baseball. I want guys that are going to do damage to the baseball. And also walk rates in the minors is some of it is org direction. They're like, you take the first pitch. They want you to sit there and see more pitches. They want you to be able to read the pitches. It's not all about, hey, look at this guy's walk rate. Well, how much of that is org related? And then if you're looking at a high walk rate from a guy who can't do damage, well, what's going to happen in the majors when they're like, well, he doesn't walking. Yeah, they're going to pound the zone and make him hurt him. And if he can't, he's not going to survive. He's just not going to survive. I think unless it's extremes, like you're talking sub 5% walk rate, you should pay attention. And if you get something absurd high walk rate, I think you need to count that as a negative. Like there's an issue there. No one's going to walk 30% of the time. That's ridiculous. 25% of the time. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in the majors. Like people are looking for the next Juan Soto. Let's just get over the fact that maybe Juan Soto is a generational talent that comes along like once a lifetime, like that archetype of a player.
He's the outlier.
Don't try and find the next Juan Soto. Try and find the next. I always say, try and find the next Cal Tucker. The guy hits for solid power, good split, has some speed. Find those guys. They always produce. Looking for the next unicorn, you're just going to end up with a whole bunch of ash in your minor league slots.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just so many of those like ridiculously like boomer bust type prospects. You're going to damage your own team by holding on to too many of those guys too. So looking for the actual 1% outcome is not always the best strategy.
I think there was a discussion on Twitter with Kirk. Was it Kirk Snyder? Kaz, one of our buddies. He's now writes for Fantrax, and he brought up someone's walk rate, and then we were kind of going back and forth. It was just a discussion between two guys on Twitter. And I pulled up the list of guys that had like a walk rate like that with that low of an ISO or that high of a ground ball rate and a walk rate like that. And it was a whole bunch of names you've never heard of. Like these are all the guys in the last decade who did this. None of those guys made it. So this guy you're talking about, the odds of him making it are slim to none. Like it's just that what he's doing right now isn't going to get it done. It's not going to make it. I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm pretty good. You can look in the past and see what has worked. And if it hasn't worked, then just stay away. That's not, it's not someone.
When you and I are both kind of like Pars List proteges, I guess. Like, Rick was kind of our mentor when we both kind of started dabbling in writing about prospects and things like that. And wasn't it like say 15%? If anything higher than that, Rick was kind of like basically giving them negative input into his formula. Was he not?
Yeah, he was. I don't know if it was 15%.
I'm you just throwing that number out. I don't know.
Just throwing that number out there. But it's a curve. It's not like power. The higher power, the better. Walks. They're not linear. There's a curve. There's a sweet spot, and then it's bad and bad. Like it can get too high.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people that just when they first start digging into the minor leagues and prospects, I don't think they understand that at first. So that's why I kind of wanted to segue. We really hadn't even talked about that pre-show, but when it came up, I kind of wanted to dig in.
I think a lot of people don't understand that, and then they kind of people who are pretty casual look to guys putting stuff on Twitter like ourselves, and then we're telling them to get this guy and that guy, and he's interesting, and the data is not exactly correct. Like you're leading these people to get specs that are going to turn to ash. So,
and kind of segueing a little bit more into that Red Sox, opening weekend. One of the other interesting storylines, depending on how you look at it anyway, is Rafael Devers. This is a guy that coming into the off season, kind of had there was a lot of negativity around him as far as not wanting to move off third base when they signed Alex Bregman. That all kind of got resolved, and now he said he's okay with trying to put the team first and being a DH. But now here, opening weekend, this is a guy that has started the season now 0 for 13. and he has, let me look and see how many strikeouts he has, because I didn't see a stat line today. He has 10 strikeouts in 13 at bats. So this is the guy that's started the season abysmally.
I think that shoulder injury is a lot worse than being let on, because that's not Rafael Devers we know. That's not the one I went out in a league and got. Corbin Carroll struggled with a shoulder injury to start last year too. I mean, we could be looking at the same situation here with Devers.
And took him to almost the All-Star break to really start going?
Yeah.
And now everybody wants Corbin Carroll.
Yeah. It's true.
Well, let me ask you a question from a fantasy baseball perspective then.
All right.
There was all the negativity that I mentioned, the shoulder injury, and now 0 for 13 start at the plate, 10 strikeouts. Is this a buy low opportunity? Has it crept up there yet or no?
Not yet. No. Like, I wouldn't look to move him for anything more than I paid for him. So you're going to have to wait. If he struggles like Carroll did, and we get into the end of April, beginning of May, you might, especially a contending team, he might be starting to worry. He's like, look, I got a window. I want to win the pot. Maybe you can ship off a lesser third baseman and give him something else, a spec, a pick, whatever, and get Devers. I think Devers will be a buy low. I don't think he's gotten to that point yet. Right now, it's like the, oh shit, what's going on phase. We need to, like, I'm over it phase. Just throwing it out the window phase.
Well, you heard it here first. JT says it's not a buy low yet, but he will be. So keep watching that window and see when that window opens to go out there and scoop Rafael Devers from one of your league mates.
We'll probably tell you, okay, go get him now. Go.
In that series, the Red Sox were facing the Texas Rangers this weekend. And the interesting storyline with the Texas Rangers for me was a couple of weeks ago, Bruce Bochy, and we all have so much respect for Bruce, having, won 3 World Series with the Giants and all of that. And then won a couple of years ago with the Rangers. So one of those historically great managers. But a couple of weeks ago caught me off guard, and I don't know about you, but when he named Luke Jackson the closer.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that response says it all.
Yeah, that's kind of out of nowhere. I mean, Luke Jackson had a good year. What, like in 2021, 2022 for your Braves?
I'd have to pull it up to find out what year, but yes, he was really good one year, and then it was kind of like a roller coaster effect after that.
Yeah,
where he's good at times, and then other times really made you pull your hair out. Which look at me now. So
yeah, look, that's Luke Jackson's fault.
I blame Luke. But then he started the season in that opening night and just looked disastrous, blew the save, and cost the Rangers a chance at victory in that opening night. And then yesterday, I did get a chance to watch him close out the game yesterday, but he looked really good. And then today you had Luke Jackson come out there, let a couple of guys get on base, but he got through it with no runs allowed, and closed it out again. So it's weird. It's still weird to me seeing Luke Jackson closing for a team that has high expectations to compete in that American League West. So I'll be very interested to see how long this lasts, and if it does last.
Why didn't they spend money on a guy like Finnegan?
I don't know.
No one spent
Finnegan was out there so long.
Yeah, I'm not saying Finnegan's the dude, but
I'd rather have him.
The year before. Jordan Romano wasn't expensive.
Yeah,
he's done it for 2 seasons.
I mean, there were so many options.
There was a lot of options. They must really like Luke Jackson, or he's been with someone's daughter and has pictures.
Segueing into opening weekend results, we now have 4 teams left in Major League Baseball that are undefeated. That being the San Diego Padres, who are up 2-0 right now in the 5th inning against Atlanta, the New York Yankees, the San Diego, or I already said San Diego, Los Angeles Dodgers, and I'm blanking on the 4th team. Who was I got it written down here?
Cards.
The St. Louis Cardinals. That was the 4th team. Sorry.
Yeah.
Are you buying this group of 4 as a quartet that will compete in their divisions for a division championship? and possibly more down the road. And we'll just kind of start the first off. I'll just go one at a time. We'll kind of give our opinions on them. I already gave mine on the New York Yankees on the other night's show. But are you buying the New York Yankees as a potential World Series contender and can kind of keep up this? I'm not saying go undefeated, but set one of the all-time paces.
All-time pace without Garrett Cole? No.
That's fair.
Not without Cole. That offense
division. Are you picking them to win the division?
Jeez, I don't know. Can anyone pick who's going to win that division? That is tough.
Nobody can predict the future, but there's other people saying the Boston, Baltimore.
Boston's really good. The Orioles are really good, and the Blue Jays. People think they're going to be good, and then you have the Yankees. So the Yankees will not win a division unless someone steps up and takes that Garrett Cole place. Like, no one's going to be Garrett Cole, right? But they need someone to step up every 5 days and they can count on him to go out there and give him quality innings.
And I'm worried about Max Fried long term.
Marcus Stroman's turning the clock back. Maybe their team. They're going to be active at the deadline to get them a starter. They're going to hang around the top 3. Deadline comes around, they go out there and get another established starter. It's possible. Maybe Freddie Peralta's available if the Brewers finally can't somehow make a mediocre lineup a playoff team again. Maybe they become sellers. Maybe Peralta is available. I don't know.
Yeah. And then I think we're both kind of buying on the Dodgers. I think anybody, anybody with a pulse is buying the Dodgers right now.
Yeah.
After winning the World Series and all the guys that they have. One of the interesting things around the Dodgers though was Roki Sasaki didn't make it out of the second inning yesterday. He's now got 8 walks in his 2 appearances. Yeah. Any cause for concern there with Roki Sasaki?
No, not yet.
Still young, adjusting.
Welcome to the majors. Rookies. He's 23. The rookies don't come up and just blow people away unless their initials are P and S. So, he's got a language barrier. Sure, there's a couple other Japanese guys on the team. I'm sure that's a lot of help. But there's a big culture difference,
that's language a big move,
difference, league difference. So, just give him a minute. Let him calm down. That guy was amazing before. So. I wouldn't get too now talking about Devers and buy low, there might be someone that might be freaking out about Sasaki, especially if they got an FYPD and they got.
I hadn't even actually thought about that. Might be having to hit the trade blocks and see if anybody's ready to go.
Yeah, maybe. You never know, because if he was available in FYPD, then a bad team got him, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they're
probably going to sit on him though.
Yeah, they might sit on him, but sometimes they're bad for a reason, because the owner's bad. So maybe you can get in there and make a deal, throw something his way, see what happens. Most bad teams are bad for a reason.
The next team in that quartet was the San Diego Padres, currently sweeping Atlanta up 2-0 right now in the 5th inning of the Sunday game. If they win tonight, that'd be 4 in a row over Atlanta to complete the sweep, which I'm a Braves fan, so got to be distraught about that. But are you buying the Padres as a potential winner of the NL West?
No, the Dodgers are there. It's impossible.
I think that if some things kind of fell into line for them, like Cease and King are obviously going to be studs at the top of that rotation. They need another couple of guys to kind of emerge as steady guys in that rotation. And they need Machado to be healthy. I believe there was an injury scare with him yesterday. I haven't looked into that again. I was traveling today, so I didn't get a chance to check that out. But they need Tatis to be the MVP caliber bat that they signed him to an extension to be. And they just need some things to fall into line to be in the running for that. And then they had the Dodgers on the ropes in the playoffs last year. So. Yeah,
anything's possible in a series. Anything's possible,
Yeah. The ones that sorry, go ahead.
I like the Pivetta signing for them.
I do too.
I'm a Pivetta believer. Sometimes he has his meltdowns, but all arms out of the top 10 have their meltdowns, you know. So I think he's a solid signing. That's a good park to pitch in. I think the Padres are a really, really good team. I think their window's now, obviously, because Machado and Bogaerts aren't getting any younger. So they need to, win. But the problem is super tank Dodgers are up there just stacking the deck in their favor over and over.
Speaking of Xander Bogaerts, this is a guy that I think kind of has gone under the radar because, like, in fantasy, especially dynasty leagues, anybody wants to hit that age 30 mark, a lot of owners start bailing on him. But Xander Bogaerts, he's now 32 years old in his 32-year-old season. But I think a lot of people miss the fact that what a second half he had last year. He closed last season after July 1 on with a slash line of 299, 338, 432, and had a WRC plus of 117. So Xander's second half was really good last year, despite some of the naysayers out there. I actually am looking. He started off this season so far pretty well. I think this is going to be a kind of an overall bounce back year because his overall stat line ended up being down last year after starting the season slow. But I think Xander could be an opportunity where maybe a guy's trying to make his roster a little bit younger. But if you're a contender, that might be a guy to go out and kind of add to deepen your lineup on your fantasy team.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of dynasty leagues want the players hit about 30. Some guys start to panic. Like, I need to start shipping everyone off at 30. Like, these guys can play to 35, 36 and still rake. So,
yeah, I mean, just like the evolution of some of these guys has just been great to see guys producing more into their 30s than they used to, especially into the mid 30s. I mean, what's Freddie Freeman, 36 now, and he's still chugging along. I mean, he might be a little bit of a unicorn, but still, you get the message.
Yeah, they can still play. Goldschmidt's fallen off, but he was still he was still like an MVP type bat at like age 35. So Bogaerts, if you could find an owner that has him and he wants to get younger, you could throw some guys at him. I don't know. Try and throw Josh Young at him and some other stuff. Josh Young can't seem to stay healthy, and he still has.
Oh my gosh, back on the IL today.
Back on the IL today. Never ends. It's a bummer.
And the fourth team out of that quartet of teams that are undefeated still in Major League Baseball is the St. Louis Cardinals. I think most people had them picked toward the bottom of that division, but they did sweep the Minnesota Twins, who had some kind of level of expectation entering the year. It's not like they played, the White Sox and swept them. I think that this is a little bit more impressive than that. But are you buying or selling the Cardinals being able to contend in that division this year?
Well, I'm selling that 100%. I don't think the Cardinals are for real. And if I'm a Twins fan, I'm worried. I'm really worried. I mean, Pablo didn't look his best. He didn't look his best for long stretches last year. You need that guy to be the anchor of that rotation, and you need him to get back to doing what he was doing.
Agreed.
So I would be worried about the Twins. I mean, they didn't spend any money, right? They didn't bring anybody in. They're just hoping for the hurt guys that are always hurt to be healthy, Royce Lewis, Buxton. And they're pitching. They have pretty good young pitchers. So they need David Festa to step up and be a real dude. They need Zebby back up being a real dude. Those two guys will help a lot. They'll help a lot. So the back of the bullpen's really good. Jackson, Duran. But if Royce Lewis is always getting hurt, they're capped, Yeah,
absolutely. Thinking of the Twins, they probably expected that Alex Kirilloff would have been part of this team. He's another guy that couldn't stay healthy and now is retired. But you don't think that Alex Kirilloff wished he had signed one of those early extensions?
Yeah.
I mean, he would have probably stuck it out if he had money on the table there.
Yeah, wrist injuries, man. They're
just killer.
Yeah. Yeah, wrists and backs. Stay away.
Yeah.
Do not target players with wrist and back injuries.
I just can't figure out what St. Louis is doing, man. Like,
they don't know what they're doing.
They need to full on rebuild. Like, I realize that they had a deal worked out potentially with Houston on Arenado. But they got to figure out a way to move him and anybody else that they can. That's, an aging guy that can help a contender. Like, why do they have Helsley? I mean, I mean, we talk about the Rangers with Luke
So
Jackson
the
closing
fans
out
still
games.
show
Go
up.
get Ryan Helsley.
Yeah, so I don't know why. Well, they signed Sonny Gray to what, a 4-year deal last year? So
Yeah, it's like the Cardinals do not believe you can ever fully rebuild, which I have to put myself on pause, because how many times do we complain about teams not trying and full on tanking? And now we're like, oh, Cardinals, you're being dumb. So we're playing a little bit of both sides of the coin here.
Well, I'm a lifelong Blazer fan, and we did that for like 20 years.
Rip City, man.
We would just try and be good enough and get in the playoffs. I mean, I think the Blazers had one of the longest runs for like consecutive years in the playoffs, at like 19 years or 20 years or something like that. So the fans still showed out. So maybe it's just about giving the fans a product and giving them that hope. Like if we get in the playoffs, maybe magic will happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe they're trying not to turn their own fan base off by pulling that trigger like that. So I guess I respect it, and I kind of don't understand it at the same time. It's kind of a weird scenario that they're in. Kind of wanted to transition a little bit now into talking about the young players, like we were kind of saying that they should start trading for more of. Your wheelhouse has been kind of uncovering those hidden gems with the O's and ones right up. And you've created your own Substack now to move on as Pars List has kind of moved on into other interests in life. So the Pars List, newsletter is no more. But now that you've kind of created your own Substack, talk about that. How can people sign up?
Well, I just made it today, and I'd love to tell you how, but I don't even know. I think
we'll drop the link in the bio at the bottom after the show. So.
Okay, yeah, and also my Twitter handle, I stuck it in the profile on there, and you can go there, and then you can sign up, and then it'll send you emails whenever I post anything. This first one is called Knock the Dust Off. It's just kind of a bridge between 24 to 2025. I did it last year. And then the O's and ones for 2 years have been free, but I think I'm going to lock it up. You're going to have to sub this year. It's going to be cheap. Like
it's worth it. Whatever it is, it's worth it. It's helped me out so much in my baseball fandom,
right on.
And as a baseball fantasy player. So I appreciate your work and respect it a great deal. How many guys did you have graduate off of the O's and ones this year?
I think total 34.
34. Okay. 30, and then 34. So what qualifies as somebody as graduating? What determines when they graduate? Just so people understand that maybe haven't read your work.
Everything's based off Fantrax roster percentage. So once they hit 3% owned, they're usually picked up, and all big dynasty leagues are already owned. So the work is done. They have value. Their value has gone up. So at the whole point of that article is to bring up the guys that are producing at a higher level that are being slept on. They're just their value, their perceived value has not caught up with the actual value that they're producing at. So we try and hit on those guys. You grab them for free off your waivers or use your fab, and then wait for everyone else to catch up. Get them early and wait for the rest. So they come up in value. The highest one at the moment, I guess, would be Wilyer Abreu. Has been the biggest one we hit on. I think after, like right now, this moment, I think Drake Baldwin is number 2. It was Christian Scott, but with him getting TJ, his ownership's gone down from like 61% to 27%. But yeah, Drake Baldwin, Alan Roden, all these guys were like 0% owned. Zevy Matthews, 50% owned. He was 0% owned when he hit the O's and ones. So the whole point of it is to get them early and let everyone else catch up.
Yeah, because in a deep dynasty league format, I mean, one of the things of it is you're not going to have the top 100 guys sitting there on the waiver wire to claim any time. So one of the things I always try to preach is that you have to pick these guys up before they get into the top 100. Usually guys don't just debut into the minor leagues right into like the top 100. The only guys that do are your top half of the first round draft, MLB amateur draft every year. Those guys will immediately slot into the top 100. So you'll get those in your annual draft, in your dynasty draft. But throughout the year, like these other guys are sitting there like a Wilyer Abreu or a Drake Baldwin, and those guys are outside like the top 3, 4, 500 even sometimes. And then next thing you know, they just blow up And then their next thing you know, like Drake Baldwin was a top 25 guy in this offseason.
I think
And now,
Fangraphs had him 11.
yeah, I mean, you could have had him for free off the waiver wire by following the O's and ones. And now you can either hold on to him, wait for him to debut, or you can do like you and I do, JT, a lot of times and trade those guys. So, and take advantage of the hype that they start getting when they start rising up the ranks.
Yeah, I don't own any Wilyer Abreu, sadly. I traded them all away last season. So, I mean, I got players to help me improve my team, but yeah, Christian Scott, I only have a couple shares left of him. I think I have 0 of Alejandro Rosario, who debuted this season in the top 100 lists. He was another guy 0% owned or 1% owned. So, you move them. It's currency. Specs are currency. If you really like a guy, you hold on to him. So,
Lunch Pail made a roster this year, so in a 30-teamer, he might be relevant for some of these people. So,
some steals so far. He's not going to get regular playing time unless someone gets hurt. But I mean, game 1, he came in, pinch ran, stole a base. So if you're in a Cats league, that's cool. Free steals.
I don't like Cats.
I'm over it too.
Categories. I don't like categories leagues, but I know there's a lot. I know it's far more popular than points. It's just not for me.
They just haven't caught up yet. Points will be the king here in a couple of years.
I hope so.
I think a lot of people haven't gone to points because they're like, oh, I don't understand. I don't know what's going on.
Tradition.
But points is so much better. I was against points also, and then I got in a points league, and now I'm just like, it's only points.
It makes more sense to me. Like if you're like a real GM is not like, oh, I can't trade this outfielder because, if I trade him, then I'm going to miss out on stolen bases. Yeah, the guy that I'm getting might hit more home runs, but like, where am I going to get stolen bases? Like GMs aren't thinking that way. These guys don't walk enough. Makes more sense.
It just puts a number value to the production. It's no matter how it comes. So points leagues is by far the best.
Totally agree. But anyway, I kind of got off subject there. Speaking of your O's and ones, though, if you would kind of think about some of these guys that are kind of knocking on the door and might be kind of candidates here to make their debut in the first half of this year. Are there any guys on that 0s and 1 or O's and 1s list that you're looking at that might be able to break through and get into a promotion here in the first half of the season?
Well, the first one off the top of my head that would probably be the soonest would be Zach Maxwell, a.k.a. Big Sugar of the Reds, relief pitcher.
Yeah, let me pull him up for you, and you can kind of hype him up a little bit here. Let's see.
He's just back into the pen type of guy, saves whole league type. Whether or not he ends up the closer or not, Diaz has been
there you go, Zach Maxwell.
Yeah. So, big, huge fastball. He's got his pitches are really nice. He's got good stuff. He's a monster on the mound. He's 'got a cool nickname.
6'6", 275. That's some size.
Yeah, he's a big dude. Yeah, he's a guy that could step into that pen, which the Reds have needed bullpen help for the last couple of years. It's time for him to come up and see what he's got, because there's some guys in there that they're just not very good. So Zach Maxwell will be the first one I think would get the call.
Those K/9 numbers are pretty nice.
Yeah, he's a dude. He's a big dude. Yeah, and his stuff plus is real nice. We're talking like 110, 112 on the fastball and stuff. It's real good stuff. Like Hunter Biggie with Tampa, or Biggie. I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
I'm not sure how it is either. I know who you're talking about, though.
Yeah, he's got real good stuff. So now he's with Tampa, and we'll see if he can work his way on up the chain there and get into more high leverage situations. Other guys, Yilber Diaz, he's not an O's and ones.
He debuted last year, didn't he?
Yeah, but he's back in AAA.
Yeah,
the D-backs are pretty deep, but Montgomery's hurt, so if anyone falters, Yilber will get a shot. He throws heat. Reliever risk with him, but they seem to be pretty determined to keep him as a starter. So you keep riding that train until it makes you get off. My favorite, TJ Rumfield, just waiting. But the Yankees, they just keep putting vets. They like their vets. So they brought in Goldschmidt at first, but he's a 2-time Gold Glove first baseman. I just love his swing, dude. It's fucking smooth. He hit his second home run tonight. He's got back-to-back nights with the home runs, so 2 bombs in 3 games. What is that, Scranton?
Yeah, here we go. Here's TJ Rumfield. I know this is a guy you've been singing the praises of for a couple of years now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what his ceiling is. I never know what any of these guys' ceilings are.
None of us do. None of us do.
But he just keeps producing. He just keeps doing what he needs to do. I mean, I like his splits. I like everything about it. I like the fact that his glove is A+, and that can help him stay out there. I like that he's left-handed, not right-handed. You know, how much of that power is going to translate to the majors? How many home runs? I don't know. You know, if he hits 20 homers and 35 doubles, I mean, that's okay. And he plays Gold Glove defense, so that will keep him out there. I think what's the ceiling projection for this guy? If I had to crystal ball something, maybe a Nathan Lowe type. You know, he's not a big.
I mean, that'll help you.
Run guy, Nathan Lowe.
I roster him in a few leagues now, so.
Yeah. I mean, and he's free, so that's cool. So
yeah, you can't be free. Free 95.
Yeah, Carson Palmquist. He's a guy for the Rockies. I don't think he's hurt. I almost want to say I think maybe he got hurt, but he's a lefty. He looks a lot like Chris Sale. Does not throw as hard as Chris Sale, but everything about him looks very similar to Chris Sale. And Rockies pitchers are always, what are you doing? Why are you owning Rockies pitchers? But
are they starting to figure it out though?
No.
You don't think?
No, I just think they drafted well and got some guys. I don't think they figured anything out.
I mean, that's half the battle.
Yeah, that's half the battle, but they didn't figure out how to make pitching not suck in cores. So that's just, facts of life. They got to pitch in cores, and that sucks.
So you're not buying Chase Dollander at all?
No, I would buy this guy first because he's free. I would take whatever's free, nice. And maybe it works out. But I'm not going to pay up for anything that has to do with Colorado Arms.
I'm liking that Caper 9, that 11.01 there.
Yeah, he's pretty solid. I mean, the 35 innings in AAA, don't look at that.
No, I'm looking at the double A.
We haven't seen a big enough sample there.
FIP.
Yeah, he's solid. He's real solid. So we'll see. Another one. You want another one that might debut? Tyler Stuart. Came over from the Mets to the Nationals. He's in the AAA.
Oh, Tyler Stewart. Yeah, for a second I was thinking Stewart, and then I'm trying to think of who it is, and then it hit me. Oh, the pitcher.
Maybe it's Stuart. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Stuart.
Yeah. So he should come up.
And he debuted last year, didn't he not?
I don't think so.
No, he didn't. I thought for some reason that he came up at the end of last year, but he did not. Here, I'll pull him up real quick.
I was watching him and Scott just kind of started, walking away from Stewart production wise.
Yeah, so I mean, he was really dominant there in Double A last year.
Yeah, Ram knows quite a bit about him because Ram is way up on all the Mets stuff, but he's been trying to find a third pitch for a long time, and then he went to the Nationals, and look at how his numbers jumped with the Nationals. And look how his ground ball percentage dropped. I think the Nationals, which I don't want to put a bunch of praise on their player development because they haven't shown much of that lately, but something there when he went to the Nationals changed. His approach changed. The way he was attacking hitters, they had him do different things, and it worked really well. I mean, that K9 jumped up to over 13. So small sample, 21 innings, but it was pretty dominant. So
yeah, I'm interested to see how that happens how that progresses because he's 25 now. I believe he's 25 now. So kind of entering that age where he needs to be promoted, so we can see what he is.
Yeah. So I think he'll be up at some point. He'll make.
And I think that the Nationals rotation kind of leaves open the door for some new guys to break in too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Mackenzie Gore showed out.
Time. Yeah, and then Cavalli will be back at some point this season. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and then they lost one. I forget his name. He's hurt. Josiah Gray. Never
Oh
been a
yeah,
big
Greg.
fan.
He's kind of been up and down a lot in his young career.
He's just a guy.
But you need
Irvin.
guys.
Yeah, Jake Irvin, just a guy. They're inning eaters. They get out
Mhm.
there and eat some innings. So yeah, I
But you
think
need those
Stuart
guys.
have a chance. Doug McKay's another guy we'll probably see at some point for Cleveland.
And Ole Miss
Tyler
Rebel.
Schweitzer for the Seahawks, or not Seahawks, the White Sox.
I'm actually interested in
quarterback.
Schweitzer. Schweitzer's one I keep forgetting to ask you about, but he's one that you kind of tipped us off in the O's and ones last year. But I really like him, and I think that he's got a really good opportunity there in Chicago to make a debut this year.
Yeah, everyone there does. Honestly, Mason Adams got hurt. I thought for sure we'd see him. He came over from Tampa. They made some adjustments to Juan Carrella. Then he's out there striking out the world. He was in Double-A. Maybe we'd see him in Triple-A. So yeah, Schweitzer, I assume we'll probably see at some point for Chicago.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is here's his stat line. In Double-A last year, he had a 9.28 K per nine, 2.81 walks. I really like guys with a lower walk rate as a pitcher.
Same.
So I always look at that a little bit more than what I think some other prospect minors do. And so I think this guy has a real good chance to debut at this point in 2025. I mean, look at the FIP number at 3.5 there. I mean, that's solid. XFIP of 338. So this is a quality prospect that I think is getting overlooked in a lot of the ranking outlets.
Yeah, and I'm not saying this guy's going to come in and be an ace. He's a guy that could, if this translates, what he's doing translates, he could stick in a rotation. He could. If not, he's going to be like long relief or disappear.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Mason Barnett, another one on Oakland or Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's another opportunity there. Oakland, a lot of people are sneakily calling for them to be a contender in that division and potentially win the American League West. I was surprised to see so many people picking, and I keep saying Oakland, but they're not. They're the Athletics. They don't have a city. They're a team with no city.
Sad. Yeah, maybe. The AL West is pretty wide open. I mean, I don't think you can count out the Astros. I don't think you can. I mean, in the Best Damn Sports Discord, I picked the Rangers. Actually, they end up going to the World Series and losing to the Dodgers. So I like the Rangers for a bounce back. A lot of it depends on hurt guys not being hurt, like Tyler Mahle.
Of course, I know that the A's also have one of your favorite longtime favorites. A couple of them actually with Lawrence Butler, and then in the minor leagues, Colby Thomas.
Yeah, that would be great to see Colby come up.
I would love it.
Rick before last year asked me to do an article. He was like, "I want you to give it the JT treatment. I want you to dig in and give me a Lawrence Butler versus Denzel Clark. Tell me what you think. I want to know if they're going to be dudes or not." I'm like, all right. So I really dug in, and I'd done the AL West better than watching paint dry, which I did mid-season, and I tabbed Lawrence Butler in there, and I said, P.S., I like Lawrence Butler more than Denzel Clark. So fast forward to the offseason, I do that article, and again, I really like Lawrence Butler. I really liked what I was writing it and researching it. I'm like, geez, I really like this guy. I didn't know how much I like him. And if the O's and ones existed the year prior, he would have been on it. Because he was totally slept on. He was picked up in my league on waivers also. So he's another guy that just super athlete. Things clicked, and here he is today getting an extension. So I like Lawrence Butler a lot. Denzel Clark has a huge problem with strikeouts, but the second half of last year, he turned into liquid magma. So maybe he's figured it out. Colby Thomas was hitting bombs. Still, he's got a K problem. So, but almost every slugger has a K problem. If you find a slugger,
you're going to be able to find the ones that break through with despite it.
Yeah, that's another thing. Ks can get pretty scary, but they're livable. They're livable up to a certain extent if the swinging strike stays below a certain level. You can live with it. They can make it happen. Look at Adolis Garcia. He had like a 34% K rate in the minors, and he made it. And
I think Colby's one of those guys that is worth taking a chance on. I've actually got him rostered in several leagues. Thanks to your work mining him for the guys like me that need those little tips. I appreciate you discovering him, so that way I got ahead of the game and got him on my rosters.
No problem. Yeah, I like Colby. I like Colby. He was hitting, and then it was the thing with that Denzel Clark and Lawrence Butler article at the end. I'm like, they got a third guy. Don't forget about Colby Thomas, and he's right there with them, hitting his way on up. So,
I mean, those two guys hit, I mean, that could be a pretty impactful pair in the outfield there for Oakland for the A's for a long time to come.
Yeah. I mean, what if they ended up having Butler, Clark, and Thomas out in the outfield, and then they all made it? That would be so huge for that organization. It would be.
Sorry, Esteury Ruiz.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy.
Another guy I want to ask you about, because he was a longtime O's and Ones fixture that I think could be on the verge of making his major league debut, is in the Florida Marlins system, and that's Agustin Ramirez.
Yeah. He's gonna rake. He looks like he's just gonna be a rake. Now, where he plays defensively, we don't know, but he looks like he's gonna be a rake.
I mean, the door is right there for him at catcher. I mean, if he could just be passable behind the dish. They started Nick Fortes over the weekend. I don't think he's gonna be the long-term solution there.
No, I mean, the whole reason I think Agustin isn't up right now is because of that. It's probably they want him to keep working on, defensively being a catcher, or they're like, okay, it's not going to work. Let's move him to first and get him reps out there. So I think everything with Agustin is about his defense right now. I think that team is bad enough that he would have broke camp with them, but he's in the minors, and it could be, he'll get called up here in a month or so. Who knows, but
yeah,
he's hit at every level. When I brought him up, I think he was an A, and he's just continued to go nuts. So, I mean, look how long he stayed in high A, 27 games with over 200 WRC plus. He was just cruising, and then at 21 he got in double A and he struggled, and then the new season started out in double A and he went nuts again. So, just give the kid a minute to adjust, and he started raking. So,
well, and we saw the pattern again when New York first promoted him to AAA. He kind of struggled out of the gate, and then finished the year in AAA really strong. So, nothing wrong with having little initial struggles upon promotion.
Yeah, especially young guys. I mean, he hit double A at 21. He's 3.2 years younger than the average double A hitter. I mean, you gotta give him a minute.
Yeah, and then it shows last year in the minors he had an 18.6% K rate, which is very manageable. 11.1% walk rate, which is not too high. So he's not too passive, as we were talking about earlier. This is a guy that I'm really excited about, and I'm looking forward to getting the chance there in Miami. I still want to call them the Florida Marlins. How long have they been in Miami?
Yeah, I think out of all the guys that haven't debuted, that are close to debuting, I think I'm probably the most interested to see how this one works out, because his bat is solid, and it's exciting. So, I mean, if it works out, then like, damn, look at this dude. We're going to have some guy out here just, hitting in the middle of a lineup for many years, and we got him for free. So that's pretty cool.
As always. Let's see. Where did he finish in the PARS rankings last year? I'm going to pull him up on there too.
Okay.
So last year in PARS, he was minor league bat number 15.
Yeah.
I mean, 81.4 ranking, which
that's the long career some All-Star games. Yeah. And that would be awesome.
And he was free.
He was free. Yeah. He was free. Yeah. Now he's on everyone's lists. He was everyone's favorite catcher until Drake Baldwin. And then Drake Baldwin was everyone's new favorite catcher,
who was also
an O's and Ones guy.
And
free.
We love the four-letter word there, free.
Yeah, he was free.
We can say that F word all we want.
Yeah. Now, can I throw some cold water on Drake?
Do it.
Because he's my O's and Ones guy. His ground ball percentage has risen, and AAA, and now in spring training it was 57%. So if it doesn't get off the ground, it's going to be a struggle.
I'm gonna bring him up so our viewers can see these rates here. Where's ground ball? There we go.
It's way too high. You got
Batted
to cut
ball. Let's add that to the file. Boom. All right, this is what you were talking about last year in the minor leagues. His ground ball rate was 47.3%, but in AAA it was 50.4. So yeah, that does make you a little nervous.
And spring training it was like 57. So
yeah, for some reason they've taken the spring training number off already, so I don't have that. But
I think you can click right there at the top.
Yeah, there we go. So the spring training was this year the spring training number was 64.9.
Yeah, that's bad.
How many at bats are we talking about? I gotta see.
That's like Justin Crawford bad.
That's 42 at bats, so it's not terribly small.
No,
but again, it's spring training.
Well, it's pretty small. They, full season's 500 plus at bat.
Yeah,
but it's something to monitor. It's something to monitor. That ground ball percentage keeps creeping up. That's not good.
Well, in 2023, he had a 55.6 in AAA, 45% overall. So yeah, in AAA alone, he had a year with, and I don't know how many at bats this is in 2023 at AAA, but 55%, and then last year at AAA 50.4%. So he's yet to be under 50% in AAA.
Yeah, and
he'll get an extensive run right now.
And he raked in AAA with that ground ball percentage. He hit the ball really hard. He got all his height from those numbers he produced in AAA with that ground ball percentage. So, just ride it. I did. I had him a couple places. I traded him. I actually made a trade for him a couple weeks ago or a week ago, and I debated it, and it was all about that ground ball rate. I was like,
I did really as well. Let me see. What did I trade for him? In my 128 team college team theme league. Let's see. What did I make that trade?
128 head monster.
Man, that league is crazy. There's so many trades every day.
I bet.
Let's see, Drake Baldwin. Where are you? Okay, I traded for him with Liam, who writes for the Upside Prospect. I received Drake Baldwin and then Willy. And I traded him Devin Williams, Nacho Alvarez. Excuse me, Devin Williams is who I traded for him. Devin Williams straight up for Drake Baldwin and Willy.
Well, I live by the law of you have to trade relief pitchers. Always trade relief pitchers.
Exactly my thought too. I try to build my startup teams around bats. But also my situation was David Fry was my only catcher and he's hurt. So I was desperate to find a new catcher.
Yeah, I had Tyler Stevenson in a lot of leagues and him getting hurt was not good.
I still like Tyler as a good bat.
Yeah, I have him in pretty much every league, I think, but one. I think he's a solid bat. I think for a minute, I thought him and Will Smith were going to be like the two young catching dudes that are going to take over. And then he got hurt.
I think one of the misnomers that when, whether it's in social media or on a show like this, when we get excited about a guy, I think that's a lot of people take that wrong. I think they take it as, oh man, we think this guy might be like a Hall of Famer. No, a lot of times we just think this guy's going to be an interesting regular.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when you're in a big league, it's all about how many at bats you can throw at your opponent. You want to beat him down with at bats. So you want as many at bats as possible. And these guys end up like solid regulars. Tyler Stevenson was hitting in the middle of that lineup for a full year. Then he got hurt. And then last year he had issues. He was like making up for the injuries and kind of tweaked his swing. He was trying to get his swing back. But if you watch his at bats, he's a professional hitter. That dude can hit. So he may not hit 30 bombs, but he's going to hit a lot of line drives. He's going to do a lot of good things. And I think he's more closer to the 280 hitter than he was like the 240 hitter.
I agree. I get to see a lot of Reds games living where I do. So I'm looking forward to getting out there to Great American Small Park and seeing Tyler Stevenson this summer at some point.
Yeah, I got to get up there and watch. I'll wear this jersey of my Eric Davis. I got the big.
I've got
red.
a very large one over on the other side of the room. I wore it the other night when we were on the broadcast. But are there any other guys that you're excited to track this? They're in the minor leagues, maybe not guys that are on the verge of debuting, but guys that you're really looking forward to seeing how they progress in 2025.
Yeah, there's a couple guys I like. These guys, they're younger. They have warts, which mainly is swing and miss, but they're young and they have crazy power, and they're teenagers in adult bodies, and they can get stronger. And I'm just going to throw some names out. Alfonsin Rosario, which just got traded to Cleveland from Chicago. He was with Myrtle Beach and A-ball last year. He's just an athlete. He's got crazy power. He can run. He's got a cannon in the outfield. If it clicks, cool. If it doesn't, move on. But I really want to see how it works. And I think Cleveland's their player development, I think, is pretty solid. I say that, and they haven't really thrown out any bats that have really wowed anybody. So,
yeah, here you go. Alfonsin Rosario last year, 127 WRC plus in A-ball. So as a 20-year-old.
Yeah, the K is the issue there. That's the issue. That's what you want to watch. And that's going to be the theme with most of these guys, like Randy DeJesus. He's huge on the Angels. He was an A. They might have moved him to high A because Angels move everyone. I think they moved Juan Flores to double A. Dude's like 19.
So, well, and the other thing I will say is I hesitate to say it a little bit because people will definitely frown on me for talking about batting average. But when I'm looking at prospects in A-ball, the complex leagues, DSL, maybe not so much DSL, but A-ball, high A+, those kind of leagues, I do look at batting average a little bit because my thing is the defense is usually pretty poor at those levels. And if you can't hit for a good average in the low minors, to me, that's a huge red flag. Not saying that by the time you get to the major leagues that batting average is necessarily indicative of a lot, but I do have a theory that batting average, it's the underlying stuff that matters more. But if I'm looking at a guy just randomly on Fangraphs, I'm going to look at his batting average because results matter, especially in the lower levels like that.
Okay. Yeah, I can get behind that. I don't look at batting average. I'm not saying it's not important. It's just I have a set of things I look at, and then I just don't have batting average in that one. But that's a really good point. At the lower levels, they should have.
I mean, if you're hitting 210 in A-ball, what are you going to be hitting in the major leagues? Like if you can't make good contact in the lower levels, like I don't know, it's just going to get harder as you get older. So as you go up the ladder.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good points. It's pretty good points. Solid theory. I just like big kids that hit it hard.
Yeah, I mean, me too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to hear some more? Or you want to move
let's
on?
Go. Who do you got?
Okay. Willy Montero for the Yankees. He's a New York guy, so if he does anything, his value is going to go up, and you can move on if you want to move on.
Willy Montero. New York,
yeah. See. He was an A for the Yankees.
Okay, I see him here.
I don't know what his numbers look like, but I've seen him play, and he's a big athletic kid.
Well, and sometimes you got to look at the tools, and sometimes that'll show more than even raw numbers will as well.
Yeah, something like I saw Kevin Alcantara a few times live at Myrtle Beach when he was with the Pelicans and A-ball for the Cubs a couple years back, and he did not look good. He looked bigger than everybody. Don't get me wrong. He looked like he stood out, but he chased everything. He misplayed balls in the outfield. I came away like, this is one of their top specs. Like, this guy is raw. So ever since then, I've been off on Kevin Alcantara. Just a side note.
Here we go. This is Willy Montero for you. Looking at him at 17-year-old and then an 18-year-old in the complex league. I mean, he had a pretty solid complex league, and then got promoted to A-ball, but just 19 years old. So I'd be interested to see how he progressed, where he starts this year, and how that starts out. Because like we were looking at Agustin Ramirez earlier. Sometimes guys struggle upon their first taste of a level and need a little time.
And Willy Montero was a late addition in one of the later volumes, so he got hot. He got out of his slump. I think in the article where I wrote, it was like, if you take off like April and then what he did after that.
Yeah, let me filter it.
I could be wrong. I could be misquoting myself. The point's real. I'm just not sure if the details are right.
Well, I mean, you're right. From June 1st on, his number, I just randomly selected June 1st on.
Okay.
And his numbers are great for June 1st on. You're talking about a slash line of 280, 344, 422, WRC plus of 119. So, I mean, a 19-year-old kind of, at A-ball. I mean, he took an adjustment period. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's an adjustment period. On a lot of those, I'll go back and I'll take like the first 20 games off sometimes. Yeah. Anytime they get a new level, I'll take the first 20 games off and then see. Or like a starter, I'll take his first 5 starts off and then see what he did after that.
Yeah, so I mean, June 1st on, this guy was really productive. And that's something that gets missed a lot because people don't think to filter it.
Yeah, you got to. And it's the Yankees.
Yeah, and you know what it is. If a Yankee prospect starts rising up the ranks, I mean, they're going to get that helium fast.
They've been going off about Spencer Jones for 2 years, and all he did was lead the minors in Ks. But he has power, and he's tall like Judge. So he's got to be good. Yeah, I'm not saying Spencer Jones won't be good, but he led the minors in Ks. You know, I think they had 2 of the top 3 K guys in the minors. So those matter. Huh?
Who else you got for us?
Jose Suarez on the Cardinals. Not much out there. Big freak athlete. Swing and miss.
I pull him up because I don't remember looking at him last year. Oh yeah, interesting. 19 years old in A-ball.
He's a big kid.
I would love to see where they start him at this year because it looks like he just got promoted to A-ball, like the mid to late season, something like that. 173 plate appearances, so he played probably half the year at A-ball. Do they return him to A-ball to start this year, or do they go A+? That'll be a big indicator on what they think of this guy.
Yeah, well, it's the Cardinals too, so they're not that aggressive.
Yeah, they'll probably send him back to A.
Yeah. I mean, they got aggressive with Jordan Walker, but that seemed like an outlier.
Well, and it may be one of those deals where, you constantly promote mid-season. So he may start in A-ball and then mid-June move him up to high A if he's doing well, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like they'd want to see, like, okay, he's got a good handle on this. I like the orgs that, like, they see a guy has a handle on the level, they move him.
Yeah.
They don't let him just waste away a full entire season at a level. They're like, okay, he's got a handle. Let's push him. Let's see how well he progresses. Like that Agustin Ramirez when he only played 20-something games at high A. He had like a 200 WRC plus. I'm like, all right, he's got a handle on this level. Let's go ahead and stick him in double A.
Well, and just out of curiosity, I'm putting this guy into fan tracks to see, and he is 0% rostered.
Yeah.
So there you go. The definition of the O's and ones.
Yeah. Jose Suarez. Another one I liked. Another big org, he's a Dodger, is Logan Wagner, Logan.
I like Logan. Actually, he's a guy that's on a couple of my teams already. 1% owned, currently on Fantrax. Let me get his Fangraphs pulled up, though. Tell me a little bit about Logan that you like.
Big power athlete, dude. Give me all the young big power athletes. I'll take them all, and if one hits, great. Especially on big orgs.
238 ISO. I like that ISO.
Yeah, ISO's cool. I like big young kids on big popular orgs. They don't have to do much.
And the Dodgers are good at like you're saying, the Dodgers are really good at developing their prospects.
They're really good, yeah. They're like the cream of the crop.
And they don't just hype guys to trade them because they usually give them some kind of chance at the major league level before they move them.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, that's another one, Logan Wagner, we'll see. So some other guys that I like that he definitely has not filled out into his frame is Andy Perez on Colorado, who got promoted to high A at the end of the year. The power has not showed up. He had multiple. You could look at his game log. He had multiple long hit streaks, like in the teens. The power hasn't showed up, but when he does hit it, it's just like this huge.
Well, and 6'3", 195, or excuse me, 6'3", 165. That means like he's got room to put on some power there.
He's got a lot of room.
May develop into a guy with. I mean, looking at him last year, one of the things that's kind of an old school way of scouting is to look at doubles numbers, because the reason why you look at doubles numbers for guys that maybe haven't shown a lot of home run power yet is because as they fill their body out, those doubles then become home runs.
Right.
And last year, in 544 plate appearances in the minor leagues, he had 25 doubles. So if a percentage of those then develop into homers, you're talking about a 20 homer bat.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a big kid, and I mean his swing looks nice. I want to see what he looks like as he fills out.
Well, and he finished the season as a 20-year-old in high A.
Yeah,
so
that's cool. Yeah,
I actually, and then you always get the Rockies as their pitchers get dinged in the fantasy world, their hitters get a little bit of a bonus because people are expecting them to mash and once they get to Denver. So this could be a guy that catches some helium as he moves up the ladder, and could be a really good trade chip for you down the road.
Yeah, it could work out. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like Hunter Goodman did not get that hype.
Oh my gosh, is he? That's the guy I wanted to ask you about. One of the he was one of those early O's and ones guys. Showed all kinds of exit velocity data in AAA. And then really struggled at the major league level, in his first taste. But he's done all right this opening weekend. I realize it's a small sample, but he's done fairly well in spring training and then to start the season.
Yeah, and they got him behind the plate.
Yes,
which is really cool. And he was, this is a guy that was free. He was free. No, dude, he had back-to-back 30 homer seasons. He's still like 1% owned. Like people were not like he'd only played in the minors 2 years out of college and hit like 30 homers in each season. Like this is a guy you want to take a shot on.
I remember before he made his major league debut, we were watching him nightly in the Parsless Discord because of the exit velocity numbers that he was putting up in AAA. And it was just unreal. I mean, his EVs were higher than almost everyone else in AAA at that time.
Yeah, he was mashing, but hopefully it works out. The Rockies need some of these guys to work out.
I'm hoping this becomes one of those post-hype guys that then breaks through. So
he could, it could have. If he sticks behind the plate, that's a huge bonus, huge.
Yeah, for real.
Because I did not think he would stick behind the plate. I was hoping like he gets like 5-10 games, stays within the catcher eligibility limit on my fantasy team, and then DHs or something. But he's catching, so. Right on. Go Hunter Goodman.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull him up now. I mean, we're still talking early, but what did he do in spring training here?
I think he raked, didn't he?
Yeah, in spring training, he had a 239 WRC plus. That's it.
Yeah, he raked.
And then, he's only had 8 plate appearances in the regular season. But it's a 174 WRC plus. So,
yeah,
combine the two there.
He's doing what he can,
Yeah. I'm excited to see what he does this year because, the first couple of seasons in the major leagues. I mean, and when we say that though, like what's a little bit tricky about that is he really, even though he played parts of 2 seasons, I mean, he had 77 plate appearances in 2023 and then 224 last year. So it's not like, I mean, he's not even had a full season of at-bats in the major leagues yet. So
no. And the Rockies don't have anything.
No, just so they might as well play him every day.
Sink or swim. I mean, they did that with Tovar. A lot of people at the beginning of the season, they're like, oh, man, they're going to ruin him. I had a buddy who owned him. He's like, what are they doing? They're just going to ruin his confidence. They're going to ruin him. But he snapped out of it.
Yeah.
So it can work. It can backfire, but it can work.
Any of those other O's and ones guys you wanted to bring up tonight?
Well, we had that. I like Danny DeAndre. Now he was hurt last year.
Yeah, the Twins prospect.
Yeah, now he was a big hype guy coming out because he got a big bonus, and then he went under the radar, or I guess under the radar. He just got back fatigue or didn't live up to the hype, but they kept moving him. They kept moving him up, even though his numbers weren't mind-blowing. So listen to the org sometimes. The org keeps moving the guys. You're like, well, someone believes in it. It's like with Alejandro Ozuna. He actually blew up last year, but he'd been a name for the Rangers, and they still hit him in the top 4 spots of the order and moved him up at a young age. I mean, they believed in him. Even when he struggled, they still stuck him up there. You're hitting 2-hole. You're hitting 3-hole. You're hitting leadoff. So you really got to pay attention to what the orgs are doing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's important because they tell us what they think of guys by how they treat them. So.
Yeah, which
makes me nervous about Eston Kjerstad.
Yeah, I don't know if that's so much. They just have so much. I don't know why they're not making a move here or there. I mean, they moved Norby, but if you're not going to play Kjerstad, if you really have some giant love affair with Ryan O'Hearn, then move Kjerstad in for something you need help on.
Man, package some of these guys and go get Sandy. How beautiful would Sandy look in Baltimore?
That almost seems like a no-brainer. Yeah, I mean, they've already dealt with them before. They got a repertoire between them. Dialogue can be started. Like, hey, we got Kjerstad. Throw in a Cade Povich or something, some other guy. But I wouldn't want Cade Povich. And since that Peter over there in Miami, him and I are like twins, so he wouldn't want Povich either. Because he traded for like 7 O's and 1s guys at the deadline last year.
Yeah, I remember that because it was like during the trade deadline, we were in the Discord going, well, there's another one. There's another one.
Yeah, that was wild. Like, he just kept trading for O's and 1 guys. I'm like, this is incredible.
It's like he must be reading Parr's list at the time.
Or I took it as I'm just looking at the right stuff. I must be looking at the right stuff. So
I think more major league teams needed to be reading Parr's list, but that's just me.
Well, the Rockies need to read something. They got to read something. Speaking of Rockies, I really like what Jordan Beck did in the minor leagues. Like, I can't state that enough how much I liked what Jordan Beck looked like in the minors. Like, I went out and got him in one league, and I tried to get him in another, and I couldn't. I tried to get as much Jordan Beck as I could. Maybe it doesn't work out, but I really like what he did in the minor leagues. Like, I think there's a possibility that he's a really solid player, which would really help the Rockies too if these young guys.
Players, that's for sure.
Yeah, they need some players. I mean, last year they ran out Jack Cave probably for like 450 at bats. They need some guys. What about some guys you like?
What's that?
What about some guys you like?
Well, I mentioned Agustin Ramirez earlier. Another guy that I'm kind of watching right now pretty closely, and I've watched him his entire career in the minor leagues, is Jared Serna. I don't think he's going to stick at shortstop. I don't think that I believe he's a second baseman long term, but he's another one of those guys that got traded from New York to Miami.
Yeah.
And I've always liked him. Let me pull him up real quick and put his stats on the screen.
Yeah, I'm pulling him up too.
A short guy, like 5'7", Mighty Mouse type guy. But here he got traded to, I forget what deal that was in, but he got traded to Miami last summer. It might have been in the same deal with Agustin.
Yeah, it was for Jazz.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is a guy that I thought might push the Marlins to debut him in with the big league club at the start of this season. He's finished last year with a cup of coffee in AAA. I'll put his Fangraphs page on the screen here.
That's the worst small sample size I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's too tiny. You can't even judge anything off that AAA.
But I've never seen a negative WRC plus before.
No, I mean, we're talking 23 plate appearances.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
And this K rate is double what it normally is.
Yeah.
I mean, normally he's a mid-teens guy for K rate. Doesn't walk a ton, but not so low that you would be worried either, because guys can get by with like that 8 to 10% walk rate. Always had a decent bat. I don't think he's going to wow anybody with power, being only 5'7", and he's not showing a real track record for a ton of home runs. In the past,
but he has a good line drive percentage, so that's going to help.
Yeah,
doubles will work, especially with that speed.
That's exactly where I was going to go with that. Is he does have he is able to run, and he does hit at a good doubles rate. Last year he had 39 doubles in 591 plate appearances. Sorry, not at bats. So 39 doubles will work. I mean, if you remember, do you remember Marcus Giles?
Yeah.
So that was a guy in the mid 2000s in Atlanta that didn't have a lot of power, but he led the league in doubles at least once. I don't know if it was twice, but Marcus Giles was kind of the guy that I think about with Jared Cerna. So if Jared Cerna can kind of beat a type of hitter like that for the Fish, that'll be extremely productive. I think this is a guy that could start at second base for a decade for them. So I'm really paying a lot of attention to what he does to start the year in AAA. He didn't really get much. He got like 8 at bats, I think, in spring training. So obviously they weren't expecting him to break camp with the team. In the winter, I was really hoping, because I do roster him in a few places. And so I was really hoping that he might debut on opening day, but doesn't look like the team even kind of gave that a chance. But if he could be a Marcus Giles type, and I don't usually like to do comps, but that's what I think of with Jared Cerna.
It's not a bad comp. It's not like comparing him to, Mookie Betts or something like we were talking about.
No, I hate that. I mean, why put that on a player? That kind of stuff is thrown around too often. Like we've been seeing all weekend, Kristian Campbell is Mookie Jr. And I think that's simply because he's in Boston.
Yeah, for sure. Big market clubs, the hype just goes nuts, and it's early. He's the rookie that made opening day roster, started second base, hits a home run, plays the same position Mookie did. Oh God, it's Mookie 2.0. It's just clickbait television. The only thing with Cerna I would worry about is just that ground ball rate. If he could not hit it on the ground so much. But
that's fair.
I just think his profile, you don't want him to hit it in the air too much either if he doesn't have the power. He's going to do Jacob Marcy things where he hits a whole bunch of pop-ups, whole bunch of fly balls, but he doesn't have the juice to get it out enough, so he ends up with a low batting average, and you'd rather just to hit more line drives. So, but he's held a 20% or better, line drive rate since high A, so that's good.
Yeah, I think that this guy's a long-term doubles hitter.
Yeah.
And I'm not expecting him to be like a Hall of Fame candidate. I'm just talking about like a first division regular for 10 years. I think that isn't out of this world expectations, really.
Well, if you like Cerna, you must like Javier Vaz.
I was super high on Javier Vaz. I got off the train though last year.
Yeah.
I've got to pull him up because I don't know his stat line last year. For sure. I thought Javier Vaz would be, because he can play so many different positions. I thought he could come up and be a really good utility player for Kansas City. I don't know. Like, I think the team is telling us something. Like the fact that they didn't move him to AAA last year. He got off to a really slow start, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, probably. He still had 118 WRC plus.
Yeah, and let me pull him up, and I'm just going to randomly pick June 1st on advanced. And I guess it's similar to season long line. There was just something that disappointed me last year, and I kind of got off the train. I actually wrote about Javier Vaz in the Upside Prospects Patreon. But he's really elite defensively. So if he gets a chance to move up, I could see him having a long career as kind of like your bench utility player. type guy. I know you've liked him in the past more than that, though.
I've liked him in the past, mainly because I was running through some stuff, and his numbers comp similar to Luis Arias. So, due to his contact rates, his low swinging strike, and then what got me on the train was he didn't hit on the ground too much, and he hit a bunch of line drives. But since he's been in the O's and ones, the line drives have gone down. So I was interested because, hey, this guy isn't just hitting singles; he's hitting a lot of doubles, and he runs.
Well, he had a 22% line drive rate last year. That's not terrible.
It's not terrible. That was better. It went down. But when I wrote about him, it was like 24. I think he was in my first ever O's and one. So, it was after 2 months, hot start. And he just wasn't bad enough for me to ever kick him off. And then he just kept, whenever I thought about kicking him off, he'd get hot. And then he'd have like a 12-game hit streak. And then he hit like 3 homers in 1 week. I'm like, well, this guy's really trying.
Yeah. Well, and he just never got promoted to AAA. So that kind of made me like, I guess the team doesn't see as much as I do in this guy. So,
yeah. Sometimes we like him more than the org does. But sometimes, like Drake Baldwin, man. If you go back and look at my my O's and ones, the first season, I'd always put a recap of what was already in there at the start and then the new guys. And I stopped that in the second year and did the Monday morning sales meetings. But for like 3 or 4 in a row, I'd put Drake Baldwin. He's really got to do something or I got to vote him off. He's really got to do something. Like this is the last week he's staying on here. And then he started doing something again, and then he just took off. And the rest is history. But he was like 1 more week away from being kicked off the O's and ones. And now here he is starting on opening day. So,
yeah.
Sometimes it works out like that.
Well,
Javier,
you're just an injury away, and that's what we saw with Drake Baldwin.
Yeah. And his numbers, like not his numbers, but like if you look at TJ Stat or Savant, those pages were really nice. I mean, he's in the upper tier, like the top 3-4%, and like exit velocity, his 90th EV, his barrel rate, and all these things. It's like, geez, Drake Baldwin's like really raking. No, but last year for the guys in the O's and ones, I mean, last year was the year of Agustin Ramirez and Colby Thomas. Like, I think like 9 times they hit homers on the same day. Those 2 guys were going nuts. And then the password just went crazy.
I don't know how I haven't asked you about password yet.
Yeah. When I put him in, he had 1 home run. He's like kind of old for A, but his numbers were good. Like he's just coming back from injury. And then I saw him, and then I saw some old pictures. I'm like, this dude's put on like 40, 45 pounds. Like he's like a man now. He's not like this lanky kid. And then he just went nuts. I mean, he went nuts. He was hitting home runs like every 3 days, it felt like. He was just mashing. And then,
well, I'm interested to seeing how the password's brother does this year. He got injured early last year. He was off to a really good start and got hurt. Johan Fran Garcia in the Boston system as well. So I'm interested in seeing how he does as he, as 2025 unfolds and he gets back on the field.
Yeah, I really think like he could blow up. I think like how we saw Duno on the Reds blow up and Briseno on the Tigers blow up, Ramon Ramirez on the Royals, those young power hitting catchers had a lot of helium. I think we would have seen it last year with him, but he got hurt.
Yeah.
So if he's available in your league, you should go out and get him and just see, because he was on a torrid pace to start, and then he hurt himself running the bases.
The other guy that I'm interested in seeing how they start this year is another O's and ones guy, and that's Abimelec Ortiz.
Yeah, man. That guy, his 2023 was historical. It was nuts. I wrote that article, the 1.21 gigawatts series with the fallout is what we called it. And Abby's season was incredible.
Oh, he's 5'10", 230 listed on Fangraphs. I didn't realize that he was that stout.
I don't know if he is 230. I think he might be 240, 245. He's a pretty big boy. I think him and Alejandro Ozuna were terrorizing buffets over there.
Well, and what I'm really interested about with him to start 2025 is that he finished last year pretty hot and
I don't
raised his
know.
overall stat line.
Maybe Kristian Campbell was as hot as him, but the last like 6 weeks of the season, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find someone hotter than Abby. And Abby was arguably top 5 hottest guys all of 2023. But that first half of the season in Double-A, which is a young kid getting promoted to Double-A, he struggled, and then he went nuts. If you include the playoffs, I think he hit 7 home runs in his last 10 games. If you include the playoffs, which Fangraphs won't have those stats.
Yeah,
but he went absolutely bonkers. I mean, he did what you want to do. Then they moved Nathan Lowe, so first base doesn't really have a roadblock. He just has to prove he can hit the high heat.
I just randomly am selecting August 1st on for his season last year. 318 batting average, 605 slug. That'll play.
Yeah.
He had like a 184 WRC plus.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But he had like a slug that high for all of 2023, I think.
Like I went through and picked him back up in a lot of places after I looked at that this offseason.
Yeah, there's
a lot of people given up on him and dropped him throughout last year. So I went back and picked him back up. So I'm really excited to see where this guy starts the year. He was in Double-A last year. I would imagine they probably start him in Double-A again, don't you?
Probably, yeah. They'll want to make sure that's not a fluke, I'm sure. And then we'll probably see him in AAA. The Rangers aren't scared to move guys up. I mean, look at Walcott. Look at Sujasi. When he was with the Rangers, they moved him up with Luis Angel Acuna. You know, those guys were moving up.
And his K rate for the season was only 21. It's not like
it went down, and his walk rate went up, I think.
So, I mean, I'm still on the train. I know a lot of people bailed on him last year in the early part of the year, but
yeah.
And, it's not like they've got Jake Berger at first base this year. The Rangers do, but they could always move him back to DH.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I don't know about Abimelech's defense at all.
Well, it's probably shit, but they had him. They started putting him out in right field some too, off first base, had him in right field. That started in the Arizona Fall League in 2023.
Yeah, 18 games last year in right field. So,
yeah, they put him some in right field. I don't know how that would work.
I think he's a first base DH guy.
Yeah,
I'm just going by his size, like.
Yeah, and that's such a high bar to get over. But he has one thing helping him is he's left-handed. Because
that's true.
You can name the right-handed DHs on your. You can. You need like 2 fingers, like JD Martinez and Giancarlo Stanton were like literally the only ones. There's not too many right-hand only DHs that stick.
So, man, if I really wish they would put him in Round Rock at AAA to start the year.
Well, he'd already be there. They started already a couple of days ago.
Well, they did start already. Man, I keep forgetting that the AAA started Friday.
Yeah, TJ Rumfield hit 2 home runs already.
My goodness. That was another one you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. I really like that guy. He'll probably be nothing, but I really like him.
So those are the 2 that are kind of under the radar that I've been really excited to see how they do this year is Jared Serna and Abimelech Ortiz. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But
Abimelech?
Yeah, Abimelech.
I just call him Abby Bombs. It's cool.
Abby Bombs.
Everybody's doing it. Abby Bombs. Yeah, I really like him.
Well, and then there's a PARS list guy that I'm interested because he kind of did terrible after the trade last year, and that's that Jacob Bresnahan, that pitcher. Got traded to Oakland last summer, but he kind of broke out on the scene in the lower minors on the PARS list rankings. Let me see.
Who
Jacob Bresnahan. Let me. Here it is. He didn't get traded to Oakland. He got traded to San Francisco. My bad. But in Cleveland. Last year, and he was a young guy in the complex arm.
Show his stuff because I don't know who that is.
Yeah, Rick actually wrote this guy up last year, and boom.
I think I remember the article, but I don't remember the name.
Image file. I mean, he's a lanky left-hander, 6'4", 195. And you see his complex numbers here, 254 ERA, 12 K per nine. And then he got traded to San Francisco, and only 7 starts, but you could see his walk rate doubled. And then his ERA ballooned big time. So I'm interested to see, like, okay, was this just an adjustment to a new organization and a new level? And will this guy then, kind of bounce back and start back on that prospect trail?
Yeah, I don't know. That's something to watch. That's something to watch. Yeah, that's a big drop in K and a big jump in walks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive change from one level to the next. So I'm like, okay, was this just a combination of fluky things? I mean, it's only 19 innings too.
Yeah, but even the one
he was
thing
getting blown up. That's why there's so few innings.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to wait and see. I mean, his complex numbers are good, but you have to wait and see.
There's been a million guys that had good complex numbers that didn't make it out of that.
Yeah, it's tough.
But 6'4", left-hander. I'm interested in seeing what he does.
You never know. There's one guy I think we both like, the Adam Zerwanski for the Reds and A-ball. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah. Speaking of Reds, and sorry, I'm not trying to hijack you, but Ethan O'Donnell is another name for the Reds that I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
It's
Adam Zerwanowski.
What was your guys' name again? Sorry,
Adam Zerwanowski.
Oh yes, the tall pitcher.
Yeah, I know you like him.
Yeah, I actually roster him in a ton of places. I really like this guy. He's one that early in his career he's still early in his career, but when he first was in the minor leagues, they kept doing that piggyback thing where one time he starts and one time he doesn't. And so, like, I felt like it was throwing his routine off, and his walk rate was really high. But let's pull him up. He's a 6'5", 190-pound left-hander, for Cincinnati. And Cincinnati's actually, I mean, we joke about the park and everything, but Cincinnati's done a good job of developing pitchers in recent years, pitching prospects.
Yeah, and I mean, his 2 pitches, that slider, from what I've seen, that slider's nasty. Like, dudes really struggle to hit that thing.
Yeah. Control has been his thing, where he's struggled a little bit. I mean, you can see the walk rates there. Last year in A-ball, 473, but that's actually down from what it was the year before.
Yeah, progress. That's what you want.
Still 11 K per nine is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I like him. I own him in a few leagues too.
I'm going to show you this Ethan O'Donnell.
Okay, yeah, show him to me. I don't know who that is either.
So let me remove this.
I got a name for you after this one. Another arm.
Dude, I love just sitting here spitballing about different random under the radar dudes.
I don't know if anyone's watching, and if people watching like to just do this, but I guess you can cut it up.
Yeah, and then here's Ethan O'Donnell, which his full season line doesn't look. I mean, it's good. It's 124 WRC plus, okay slash line, a little bit high Ks, but I'm going to filter this because he's another one of those guys that got off to a little bit of a slow start last year. But then whenever you filter it down, I'm just randomly selecting July 1st on. Come on. July 1st on 141 WRC plus, slash line 299, 366, 478. I really like that 478. And that's in 224 plate appearances. So it's a pretty big sample size. He was really hot 10 in the season. He's got good speed, stole 20 bags in that small sample, 31 steals on the year. This is a guy I'm really excited to see where they start him. Do they move him to Double-A? If so, this is a guy that could catch helium as far as, fantasy value.
Yeah, he could. That's a pretty good pull. I got a pitcher that is flying under the radar and got lost in all the Alejandro Rosario hype. Is David Davalillo. Yeah, Davalillo. Yeah, look at his numbers.
Yeah, let me pull this up. I'll put it on the screen.
That comes with a 13.6 swinging strike.
Which won't be shown on this.
And I
So
guess he can
13
touch.
point what?
I guess he can touch 98. A 13.6 swinging strike.
Not bad. A
Not
plus, 10.2 K per 9 with only 3 walks per 9. I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. I like all of it. And he can throw heat. And the
6'1"
Rangers
righty.
The Rangers have shown they haven't got all the way to the major league level yet, but they in my opinion, are doing pretty good in the pitching development department, at least in the lower level so far.
Oh, yeah. And there was another guy last summer, and I'm blanking on his name, but there was another pitcher other than Rosario that you mentioned at one time that I ended up snagging in a couple of places, but I'm blanking on his name. I'm going to have to go to one of my team rosters.
Do you remember what team he was on?
It was another Texas arm.
Ryan Lobus? Was it Ryan Lobus?
Well, I know he's gotten a lot of helium. Man, I may have dropped him because I had 2 of these Texas arms on this one specific team, but now I only have Rosario. What's that?
Jose Corniel?
No.
No.
Let me go to their Fangraphs prospects page and see if that's. I hate how you can't look up their prospects right now. 2024. Let's see if he's in their list on 2024. Their top 40. Yeah, I don't remember.
Skylar Hales. Was it the reliever, Skylar Hales?
No.
That's about all the Rangers I can think of I wrote about.
Yeah, I'm not seeing who it was now. I'll get back to you later.
Okay. Yeah, Ryan Lobus is another one, but his fastball isn't like this guy's fastball. He just throws a slider that literally no one can hit. I think he struck out 10 in one outing, and he struck them all out with sliders. Like he literally was throwing the slider every pitch, and the guys couldn't hit it. Oh,
3 other guys that I'm looking forward to seeing how they start the year are Lisbel Diaz for the Giants. He's a 19-year-old. Let's see here. I mean, he's 6'2" outfielder. He's 2% owned on Fantrax right now. I'm just pulling up my teams here. But he got promoted to, I believe, A-ball at 18 last year. And at 18 years old, he put up a slash line of 279, 333, 433, 18% K rate. So I think this is a guy that I'm interested in watching. I don't know in a lot of places if I'd pick him up just yet. But he's definitely a watch list guy right now. Let me take this pitcher stats off the screen. 6'2", decent. He's not a tiny guy. 221. I'm gonna filter that down too to see what he did in the second half. Kind of the same as what he did in the first half. So the stat line was pretty much the same. That's a tornado siren. But anyway, my wife just came down and we have tornado sirens outside, so I can't hear it.
Wow.
But I'm going to go check it out and make sure we're okay.
Okay.
So I might wrap this up and we'll talk some more about Lisbel Diaz and Jordan Sanchez is another one. Also, another one I'm interested in seeing how he starts the year is Tucker Flint, one of your O's and ones guys. So,
yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up so I can go check on and see how this weather situation's doing.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
It's good fun, man.
Yeah.
We'll have to do it again.
Great. All right.
Talk to you later.
All righty. Bye.